So, hello guys, my name is Marc Angele. I'm a freelance look dev, grooming, shading, lighting, compositing artist. I'm based in Germany, but originally I'm from Zurich. I studied animation and visual effects at the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg here in Germany, and now work just as a freelance artist. I'm using Cinema 4D, I would say, since 12 or 13 years, and since 10 years professionally. And I started using it as an architecture visualization guy at a company called Arnold. And we used their cinema combined with V-Ray, and over the time I switched slowly to Arnold for my animation and visual effects projects. Yeah, the reason why I'm using Cinema 4D is because it's really user-friendly, it has a nice and clean UI, it's easy to learn, but the most important thing for me is you can have all these advantages of a nice and clean, easy software, but you can build on top your highly professional workflow. So you can use the Python IPA, you can use third-party renderers, you can use a lot of plugins, and this is why Cinema 4D became for me one of the most important tools. So I'm just using it more as a center tool, so where everything comes together. But yeah, because everything comes together there, it's really important. Just let me show you my showreel, so you have maybe a better idea of what I'm doing and what I spend most of the time and what I'm focused on. And the two projects I want to show you today is one is Toby and the Turbo Bus, and this is this one here with our little guy. This is the Toby and this is our Turbo Bus, and it's a 7-minute long full CG animation movie produced independently with the director of Verena Fels, and my role was I was there as a co-director and as, I would say, kind of CG supervisor. So I did all the look dev process, all the lighting, all the compositing, and overviewed the whole CG pipeline to produce this movie as fast and as how can I say it, as highly qualitative as possible. And the second movie I want to show you, or the second project I want to show you, is The Beauty. This is my diploma movie here at the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg, and it's a 3-minute long underwater movie with 15 VFX shots. 5 of them are full CG and 10 are with plate combined. It's directed by Pascal Shelby, and we are really glad that we already won a lot of awards with this movie. So one was the Visual Effects Society Student Award, another was the Mograph Jury Choice, the Animago Jury Award, and most recently, super exciting, we are nominated for a Student Oscar. So pretty cool. But let's start with Toby and the Turbo Bus. This is a project about friendship and about our turbo bus, and you have to know the bus is driving really crazy, and you fly out of the bus if you don't have a seat. So this is kind of the main story. The challenge on this project was that actually are quite a lot of characters, so because the bus is always to be full, so we had 36 characters and over 82 shots, and just to deal with that amount of character and shots was a big challenge. And we had almost no money to produce it, so we have a really small team, and we're super glad that Cinema 4D, also Maxon, and Solid Angle with Arnold supported us producing this movie. So without them it wouldn't be possible to show you this project now. I want to show you the first minute of the movie, so you have maybe a better idea what's the style of the animation and what's the style of the rendering. So enjoy!
That is me. I'm Toby. And like so many times now, I am really late again. And that is Freddy. He is my best friend. Yeah.
As I said, just again as a small overview, a few images of it. This is the inside of the bus, our two protagonists and our antagonist. So this is Toby and this is Freddy, our main turbo bus, and again our little Toby. So just to give you again a little bit of an overview of the style. I want to start with the design process. So this is a painting done by Toby Trevelja, our concept designer. And this is where everything started actually for me. So with these paintings, and then actually quite fast we got this first rendering, this first turntable of Toby. Where we did all the look depth, all the grooming with cinema hair, and the shading, rendering, lighting is done with Arnold. And just let me jump into Cinema 4D and show you how my setup looks like there. So this is the setup. I jump out of the camera, make this a little bit bigger. So I actually using all the time when I'm doing look depth the same scene, the same setup. So no matter which project it is, but what's the style of the project is, because if you always using the same scene, you pretty much know exactly what are you doing and how the shader reacts. So it gives you a good feeling of your object, what you're working on. And basically it's just a wide scene with a big stage, some huge soft, really soft lights, one of the top here and one of the front. This is really a dark one, just to give it a little bit of fill light from the front, and the warm and the cold light from left and right. So this is actually the setup. You see here our main character. This is a lambic, what we bring into cinema, coming from Maya. So the animation was done in Maya, and I just always have 36 frames here. So each frame is 10-degree rotation, and I render this all the time. So I would say every night I start to render. No matter how far I am or how big the changes are, just always render this 36 frames, so you can combine it in the next morning and see what is the difference, what is the plus of your work of the last day, and where you have to spend more time on it. As a setup, so our grooming setup was split to different furrow systems, just to have the different parts of the head or of the body split it, that we control it separately and push it as far as we need it for just for design reasons. So the director Verena could say, hey, please make it a little bit more dense in the face, and the hair in the back didn't change with reasons like that. Yeah, that's another thing what I have in my look dev scene are always some dome lights with some HDRs, and they are as well the same in every scene. So I can show it to you. I'm just rendering all of the time. I enable them and look how my character or my look dev object is looking in different scenes. So, and this is actually quite ugly, you can see. This is really just for internal use. It's just for me to give it to get a better feeling of my shader, how everything reacts, how shiny is the fur here, for example. It looks really shiny, so maybe you have to reduce the specular in the fur and stuff like that. So it's just important to have always the same things, so you know exactly how your character or how your object look like in different scenes, and over the time you get better and better and better using the scene and getting more faster. As you can see, we rendered a lot of tests with our characters, and you see here we get this strange pattern around his mouth. So actually we didn't know where this is coming from, and we saw at the end this is a subdivision problem. So actually we came up with a quite easy solution. We subdivided the whole body, so just the body object, by exporting it from Maya and the Alembic and subdivide it directly there. So we get a high-res mesh in Cinema to render it, and as we did this, all these effects are gone. So you hear another test for our characters. So it was really important to see how reacts the fur if we blow, for example, here's his face, or how reacts when he's moving, a little bit of animation. So we didn't use fur simulation, so it's just a static fur, and these tests were there to have a look on it. Is the style good enough for us when the fur is only moving through the animation and not through simulation? So we started producing some animation tests, where we can cover both the animation style, a little bit more the character itself, so his emotions and his style, his movement, and as well the rendering and look depth, and we can see how far we have to go with the render settings until it's not noisy anymore, and just to give to get a little bit a feeling of what we are doing here and what is our show about. Next I want to talk to you about the environment. So this is again an amazing painting of Toby who developed this environment just with one painting. So this is was our only painting of the whole environment, and out of them we started producing the scene. So this is the final image out of the movie. So you can see we are actually kind of pretty close to the design, and I want to show you the process, so to show you how far we have to go until we have this final image, or how long the way is and how ugly it looks like when we started. So this is actually our starting point, a quite ugly image. We just took some library trees and scattered them around to test it, how we can get the feeling of a forest. So made the trees a little bit bigger, added some plants down here. But we came up that it's the problem with these library trees, because they're just too realistic, so they don't have what we liked in the design. So in the design you can see here back they have a pretty clean shape here, and you can read them really good in the silhouette, and with these trees it's just a big chaos. And this is what Verena really want to push, that we have a designed tree, not only just a rendering of a real tree. So we want to have a designed animation tree. So I started building these trees with Mograph and tried to scatter something. And as you can see here, this is our first test. Maybe we like the idea that they have a nice shape, but in a area you can't see the difference between the trees. So I had to go further and test it more, make a different concept, and I came up with this. So actually, quite cool, because you can see all the single trees, but they have still nice shapes and look really nice. So another thing what Verena always said is that it looks like we are being in a park and not in a forest. So I had to deal with this to make it bigger and make it more look like a huge forest where our characters live. So, and actually the solution was quite easy. I pushed just the trees and made them bigger, and made some hills here so we can't see the horizon, or we can't see the sky, except of little areas top here. Just you see we are pushing the elements, so we are changing the trees a little bit more, the leaves are a little bit smaller, and I adjusted the shader. But I felt like, wow, this looks nice here in the foreground, and here this doesn't look nice, so we had to add a few more objects to the front, and actually getting closer and closer to our final result. And this is now the final rendering of the movie. So this is how it looks like, the beauty render out of Arnold and Cinema. And again, just with a little bit compositing, it gives you more depth and refined color. So let me jump into Cinema 4D and show you how it looks like in the scene. So first I want to show you my tree setup. So this is actually done with Mograph. I just took, I built a single branch. This is just here. This is just a dummy object. So this is my single branch, and I have here a distributor object, and I scattered this element around this object just with a Mograph cloner based on a surface, and add a random effector. So it just is scattered randomly around this distributor. And at the end I added a plane effector who controls with a fall off with this curve the shape of the whole tree. So I could easily then changing a little bit of the shape of the tree and say it has to be smaller in the lower part and getting bigger, or just you can see you can build out of this a lot of different trees. And we made around 3 or 4 different trees, exported them as Arnold Procedural, and scattered them in the scene. So I show you now the scene. So this is how the scene looked like. Our camera is down here, and the boss is here, and here is our antagonist Freddy. And as you can see, everything is only built for the camera, so we can't turn around the camera, so because it wouldn't look good. I used to build this scene mainly Mograph to scatter the trees, and I'll show you in a minute how I did this. And I used a tool called Surface Spread for spreading small elements, so this, little stones down here in the road, and the grass on the hills. And the cool thing about this tool is you can enable something like backface sculling, so it's only scattering there where you can see it. So on a backface geometry it didn't scatter everything. And you can enable camera filter, so you can enable that is only scattering in a camera cone, and stop scattering at a certain distance. So this is really useful if you're dealing with big scenes, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible to render all this this huge geometry, or this huge amount of geometry in one scene. And as well important is that you prepare everything as procedural objects, as proxies. So the renderer, in my case Arnold, knows that this object what I'm scattered here 20,000 times, or let me have a look how often, 15,762 times. So that Arnold knows this is 15,000 times the same object. So it only has to load it once in memory, and knows every 15,000 times this is just the same object in a different scale and different rotation at different position. So without this, the render wouldn't start rendering the scene like that. And for the scattering of Mograph, let me produce just some different objects to show you the idea of it. So imagine these are my trees. I'm adding a cloner, put them down, adding a random effector, and set here maybe scale, so I'm scaling a little bit differently. Trees is really important to just scale them in height the most, rotation, and made here a lot of random rotation. Now I'm creating an empty polygon and switching to point mode, and in the moving tool you can now just press oh sorry, I have to add here switch this mode to object and put in my polygon mode, say then switch the distribution mode to vertex, and now when I'm in the polygon in the point mode with this moving tool, I can press on my keyboard the control key and just pressing where I want to have a tree. So this is really nice, so you can scatter very fast a lot amount of trees, but you still have a big amount of control out of it to change it where you want. So you can change every single tree, not in the scale of the tree, because this is managed through the random object, the random effector, but in the position, and this was for me the most important thing. So if a tree is a little bit too big in the image, I can just move it out of it and can control this very fast. So this is actually a pretty nice way to scatter a lot of plants randomly, but still with a big amount of control. And if you scattered it, you can do at the end a lot of adjustments still by changing the size or changing the rotation value of the random effector. And this was for me always a good thing to produce these big scenes. The most of the time in our movie we are inside of the bus, and as you can see here, this is the shot with the most character in it. So as I said, we had 34 characters in over 80 shots, and 85% was inside of the bus. So we had to produce a really smart workflow to just to manage this amount of characters and this amount of shots. And I just want to show you how I did this. And this is what I talked in the beginning was really important for me, is that you can optimize your own workflow in a really professional way with Cinema 4D. So we wrote a few Python scripts to make this possible, and I just want to show you how I'm using this. So I have here my folder where I have all my character masters in it, and when I'm starting this, I just have here my default scene. So I double click this. In this default scene I have a few lights, a few shadow elements where I can move them around and show it later to you how it looks like. And then it's just, yeah, you can just put in the characters you need for the scene. So obviously we need our boss. We need our boss. We need Frankie in the scene. We need Freddy's backpack. We need Freddy in the scene. So we need Jeff. We need the juice box. We need Toby. So actually this is it. And obviously we need a camera. And for the camera I just have to import this by hand. So let me drag the camera in, just a scale of 10. And here we are, and I'm copying just the camera to my default scene. So I put them down in my scene object, and I always convert them to a normal camera. Yeah, as soon as I edit all my object, I'm saving it. So I'm using for this my custom saving tool. So yeah, and I'm just saying, okay, it's shot 210, great, 240, sorry, and save it. Yeah, so and now based on the file name, I can just relink all these alembics. What you see they are now missing because the path is not correct. I'm just pressing one button and every alembic is relinked and the characters are in the right position. And this is really the magic of Python. So you can start adding this character or adding a lot amount of characters just to your scene, pressing one button and everything is set correct. Or not everything, because in the boss it's not working really correctly, but to fix the boss I just have to select a few objects and paste in the right path, and here we are ready to go. So to explain you the scene a little bit more, it's just I have a big floor, as I said, a few shadow elements. I have a direct light representing my sun, and I have a sky dome which is just covering the sky and the whole the whole indirect light. I have two fill lights where I can move around in my scene if I like. So just let me show how I started stuff like this. So I go into the camera. I see now, okay, we have two seats in front of the camera, which I have to hide, but this is done really easily. So just let me hide them. And this one. Great, so I can now move around my lights a little bit. I disable this one first and just say I want to have a little bit of fill from the side, so my character are not that much dark here because the sun is coming from this side and they don't have some light in their faces. So just adding a fill light here. Yeah, and I'm disabling the fur. For this I wrote actually my first Python script, which Noel Vincent, a good friend of mine, helped me with writing this. I missed this function in Cinema, so it was really easy to write it by my own. So it's just pressing one button and it's disabling all the different Cinema 4D hair objects. So you can see here I'm just having some switch buttons, so to put them off, because with that amount of characters you don't want to go in each group and say this is on, this is off, this is on, this is off. So I just want to have one button. And again, this is just the power of Python. And I can show you here, I opened the scripts. So this is the fur on and off script. It's really short, it's just 17 lines, and it saved me so much amount of time. And as well, the Alembic path script, you can see is just, yeah, 38 lines long. So pretty short, just a few lines, but the speed you can get out of it is amazing. So another Python script that I have is a set shot script. So I saved based on the file name. I'm setting all the job variables, so you can see the timeline switched to the correct frame range, and it jumped back to frame 1. So this is why my character is gone. So here it is again. And now I would say just let's start the render and look how it looks like now. And here we are. Okay, I see now the fill light is way too bright. I would say maybe 10. Yeah, this is better. And let me move the sun around a little bit. Just here. I want to have the sun coming from this side, so we get some more nice lights here. Maybe a little bit more down. And I want this shadow object in front of my characters, so we get some nice shadow shapes on their heads. Perfect here and here. So, and as soon as I'm happy with the basic setup, I'm just enabling the fur. And start. Wait, let me check. Is everything right? No. Yeah, here's the fur of Freddy. Perfect. So, and I start rendering the fur. So this takes always a little bit more time, obviously, to start rendering, because the amount of geometry is way bigger with the enabled fur. But you can see the shadow, or you can already see that the shadow effects on the fur are really nice, so, and beautiful. So everything looks, for my opinion, quite good. Yeah, so I stopped this render here because it would take maybe half an hour to finish this image. So I just want to show you the final image, what we did here. This is the image out of the movie, so this is how it looks like rendered finally. So I would say it renders final full HD image, renders 1 hour, from 1 hour to 60 minutes to 90 minutes. It depends how much characters we have in it and how close we are to the fur, because the fur is the most expensive element in our scene. So, and that was it for Toby and the Turbo Bus. The next project I want to show you is The Beauty. This is a poetic movie about plastic pollution in our oceans. And we wanted to create a highly realistic movie with some plastic object in it. It should look very beautifully, but with a clear and radical ending and a clear message at the end. To give you a better idea what we tried to achieve in this movie, I want to show you our teaser.
Go on. Forget about it. It's not our duty. So we better quietly enjoy this. Beauty.
Yeah, so as you see, this is a very VFX driven movie, so we had to shoot a lot, and we spent 10 days in Egypt. This was our main shooting, where we shot all the plates and all the corals with actually in a team of three to four people. So with Pascal, our director, and David Dinze, our underwater cinematographer. Then we shot 2 days in France, here down there in a kind of natural pool, and we shot just 1 day in Stuttgart in a coral shop, some plates just for corals for our bubblefish shot, to come them together a little bit better. So to give you an idea about this, I want to show you our making of. During the shoot in Egypt, we shot a lot of reference material, as you can see here. So because it was very important for us to have some footage to have a look on it, how react plastic on the water, how react the light on the water, how swim something, how react reflective and refractive is some stuff. And after that, after the shoot, we jumped into 3D and just made some really simple tests to try to figure out, or to try to rebuild this underwater look. And you see there are just a few little components what makes it realistic. So one is the huge amount of environment fog, so the depth, so you only see one, I would say 5 to 10 meters, and then everything is just blue. And we had just the sunlight, and very important, this rays and the caustics on the floor. What we also saw in our reference material was that the index of refraction, so the Fresnel effect, is way stronger than in air. So you can see here in our reference image the glasses of the diver are reflecting way stronger than in air. So in air you would see you would still see his eyes, and on the water you just see the reflection. And this is just an IOR value, and because Arnold is made to render in air, we had to figure out how we have to adjust these values to get this effect in our render, and does it look like on the water. And so actually it's just an IOR value, or inversed normals, but reversed normals aren't the correct way to do it. So we just went with the IOR value below 1 to get exactly this effect what we want. But yeah, we had to spend a lot of time with things like this to just figure out what is it exactly what it makes looking realistic on the water. So I want to show you a little bit of a process from our whale, or our plastic whale. And you see we started really rough, and just it took me 30 steps to get to the final result, with just some different plastic values, some different IUR values, some different roughness values, different refraction values, and yeah, you see it's a long way until you get the final result. See it here, this is the final result in a studio environment, like I showed you before, my just normal look dev scene, but because it's a special element on the water, we also rendered always test scenes for as test renderings on the water to see it better there. Yeah, the same with our bubblefish. So the look dev process was pretty long, as you can see, because it's really hard to have a transparent object, a reflecting transparent object in front of a messy plate, and we really want to have this transparent plastic look, but as well feel the character. Want to see his eyes, his mouth, so it's actually a pretty long process until we get there. This is the final rendering then, the final look dev. So in a studio environment, and here you can see the final shot. Yes. Let me show you, let me jump into cinema and show you how these scenes look like when it's more visual effect scene. So I'm closing cinema and restarting it in a different beauty, in a different job environment, so every value is just correct. So, and here I use my custom open tools. I just start with this. So I have to switch to the one screen layout. So as you can see here, it's just actually a really simple setup. We have our bubblefish imported as Arnold procedural object, because you can import Alembic in the normal cinema way, so like I did it here for preview reason, and they are disabled for the rendering. And for the rendering I used this Arnold object because when you're importing the Alembic in the normal cinema way, the velocity data isn't transported into cinema. So if you're using the Arnold object, you can render with motion blur as well. So this was actually in this VFX project really important. And our other project, Toby and the Trouble, was we didn't render motion blur, so we could use the normal cinema way. I enable here some plates, so you can see actually it's just a really simple setup. We have here some cards, some 2D cards, where I added just elements, foreground and background elements out of the plate as a reflection object for my scene. So actually it's just a little bit fake, so to get the rendering out there. Yes, then let me show you another scene. So I'll open this one. So here again the scenes are actually pretty simple. So we tracked our camera in Nuke with just a normal camera tracker and generated there some match move geometry. This is important for the animation to see where objects are, and as well for the lighting. So the rays are bouncing here and bouncing light back to the object, just to have a realistic scene. And I always added the background just for me as a preview to see it a little bit better, but it's disabled for the rendering. It's just for me in the to have a nice view. The lighting setup is we have here this volume fog, so to generate depth we have a big sky dome and sunlight, pretty close actually again, the sunlight, and below the sunlight spotlight with gobo texture of these caustics elements to get this nice rays and nice caustics. Yeah, that's it. Let me show you the third and last scene what I want to show you. So this is the right one, yeah. So in here again, actually the scenes are quite like the other ones. We have just the camera in it. I zoom out. So this is our shot with the whales, our full CG shot. We have just the whales as well imported with the Arnold procedural object, and I always added the normal alembics, the normal cinema alembics, to have a nice preview of the objects. Here we added a water surface with animated displacement on it to just always see the water surface, and below the water surface we have this huge fog element, on top a sky dome, and as well the sunlight with the caustic spotlight below. Actually for this project we didn't have enough or a lot of automation tools, because just every scene is different and we have to set up every scene by their own. But it's actually, it was easy because there's only 15 scenes and not 80 scenes, and as you can see we have only 3 characters in it and not 30, 34, 36 characters. So it's easy to set it up by hand, but we added some automation tools to switching shot loads or generating file names and outputs and just the normal stuff to get a nice and easy production. Let me jump back to the presentation. I want to show you how the render looked like. So this is the beauty render, how it came out of cinema and Arnold, and just with the compositing on top. As well here, this is the beauty render of the scene what you saw before with our whales in it, and then with the compositing. And it's always in the compositing just a little color correction, just some depth, and vignetting, of course. Here it's really important, the huge vignette, but actually quite easy. So out of cinema and Arnold you get a good result, and you can push it in compositing really fast. Here's as well the bubblefish, and in the final comp, and it's just as well some color correction, some contrast values, and of course the adding of the plate of the background and the foreground, what makes it look like magic. Yeah. So that was it from my side. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and my project, and if you want to stay in contact, so add me follow me on Instagram or add me on LinkedIn. You just will find me under my name, Marc Angele. And I would love to hear from you. Just if you have some questions, or to want to give me some feedback, or just want to drink a beer with me, feel free to contact me. I would really like to hear from you. So thanks a lot for watching my presentation, and if you have some questions, feel free.